So this chapter 27, verse number 2, chapter is entitled Understanding Material Nature. And these are verses spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila to his mother Devahuti. His mother Devahuti has asked Kapila to instruct him in the matter of devotional service. What is Prakriti, what is nature, what is devotional service, how to become freed from this material energy. Different questions about devotional service she has asked. She wants to gain that knowledge, and she has surrendered herself. The mother has surrendered herself to her son, because the son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here Kapila is instructing. Different chapters we have covered, and in this chapter Lord Kapila is instructing her mother about what is material nature, what is the power of material nature, how we are all under the influence of this material nature, and how the goal of life is to become freed from this influence of material nature and go to another nature, which is the spiritual nature. So what is material nature? Very nicely summarized in this particular verse, the influence of material nature. Kapila is saying, the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego. This is our position right now. We are all under a spell. You can understand what a spell is. And Prabhupada starts off the purport by explaining what that spell is. You can understand what a spell is. If you are under the spell of something, you are helpless in that situation, and you are just forced to act under that spell. So many of us don't even realize that in this material world, in this material body, as long as we have identified ourselves with this material body, we are all under a spell. That is why it says Maya Grasta Jeev. Maya Grasta Jeev Bhogo Vancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Tare Japatiya Dhare. So we are all Maya Grasta Jeev, means we are all under the spell of material nature. And what do you understand by spell? Prabhupada is explaining. Spell means we are forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. So there is a pressure, just like a prisoner or a person who has committed a theft, he will be forced to act. When the police comes, there will be a pressure of the police. And he is helpless, he cannot do anything. So just like a prisoner is forced to act under the spell of the police, in the same way, we are all prisoners of this material world. And we are all helplessly forced to act under the pressure of the three modes of material nature. That is our current situation. That is the first spell, and then the second spell is, the first spell is the three modes of material nature, and the second spell is the false ego. I think I am everything. I have done everything. This has happened because of me. This is another kind of a spell that we are under. And we are under this spell. So how do we know that we are in this spell? We have identified ourselves with the body. We all know, we think that we are the body, we want to satisfy the body is everything, the body is for my pleasure, I want to enjoy this body. Body is everything to me. Happiness of the body, happiness of senses is everything. This is another indication that we are under the spell. And what happens when we are under this spell? We are absorbed in material activities. We think material activities is everything. Perfection in material activities is our duty. We take on these material activities as the ultimate duty, not knowing that these material activities are not really the ultimate. We have some duty as far as, because we have a material body, some material duties must be engaged in. But ultimately, we have a higher responsibility. Because we are under that spell, that higher responsibility is not understood. That higher responsibility is forgotten. And we think that the spell leads us to think that I am the proprietor of everything. I am God. I am the enjoyer. Kartaham iti manyate. Prabhupada is quoting, this verse is very similar to that verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. Ahankara vimuratma kartyasmiti abhimanyate. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Prakite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimuratma kartaham iti manyate. So very similar verse is being mentioned, is what Lord Kapila is talking about here. So, not only we are under the spell, every living entity, innumerable souls are suffering in this material world because of the spell of Maya. And Prabhupada writes that the spell is so much, you may think, actually we are all under spell, we are not realizing. But sometimes we may think, you see this person is suffering so much, he's not realizing. He's drinking, he's suffering, but he's not realizing. Actually, the person who is drinking, he's under the spell, another kind of a spell of Maya. But if you ask him, he says, I'm happy. This is the spell. Although we are suffering, we are thinking, we are happy. And the spell is so much, Prabhupada writes that in this spell, even a pig feels satisfied and happy. This is the kind of spell. And we know that story of Brahma and Indra, how Indra was cursed because of some mistake that he committed. He was cursed to take birth in this material world, on the earth planet as a hog. And then he was suffering so much, and Brahma got, he was not happy seeing the suffering of Indra. And when Brahma personally comes to deliver Indra from the spell that he was under, Indra says, there is no need for me to be delivered. I do not want to go back to my position of Indraloka. I do not want to become the king. I am very happy in this body. I have a very nice family. I have to take care of the family. Why are you calling me back? See, this is the spell of material nature. So, and here, the spell is mentioned here is for this conditioned soul who's under the spell of the material modes of nature. Yeah, the spell of material nature. So what is this material nature? The three modes of material nature. We know the three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. In the material world, most of us are under the spell of passion and ignorance. But even if you are in the mode of goodness, that is also a spell which we do not realize. Here, towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada is writing, a conditioned soul may be very good. A conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature. You see, even mode of goodness is a spell. So why is the mode of goodness also a spell? It's so nice to be in the mode of goodness, right? That is also a spell, because even the mode of goodness will keep you entangled in this material world. There is no freedom from the sufferings that we are going through, even if you are in the mode of goodness. That is why it is a spell. The goal of life is actually to go back to the spiritual world. We do not realize that these sufferings that we are undergoing are not real sufferings. The real suffering is birth, death, old age and disease, which we do not realize. How many people realize that the real suffering of the soul is birth, death, old age, disease? Although it is suffering, we do not realize, and we go on with this life, and we think, yes, this is all a part of life and we have to live with it and let us, but no, this is the biggest spell that we are under. We are going through so much of suffering, and sometimes when we solve that problem, we think we are in happiness. It's like when you are sick. We don't want to be sick. Suppose you have fallen sick. Now, when you become okay, you feel very happy. Isn't it? When you recover from a sickness, you feel very happy and you feel, such a nice life. Actually, that Healthy life is your natural position. Getting diseased is an unnatural position. So we do not realize, why am I going to that unnatural position of getting diseased? And then I feel very happy and I think that this is everything. So similarly, this is the question that we should ask ourselves. Why am I suffering? Is there a way not to suffer rather than to suffer and feel happy about coming back to my original health? Isn't there a way that I can keep my original health always? So this, our position to be Krishna conscious, actually it is said that Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabhu Noy. We are all originally Krishna conscious. That's why it says we are under the spell of something, means we have forgotten what our natural position was and should be. Our position is to be Krishna. We actually are all originally Krishna conscious. It is not that Krishna consciousness means we are imposing on ourselves something extra. No. We are not imposing on ourselves something extra. We already have this Krishna consciousness with us. Because of the spell that we are under, we have forgotten it. And this whole process of Krishna consciousness is to remove this spell, is to remove the force or the pressure of the three modes of material nature. And as I was saying, that this every living entity is under the spell. An animal, a beast, an insect, and a human being. The animals are all also under a spell. But we are so fortunate that we, human beings, in this human body, this spell can be very easily removed if we know the process, especially in Kali Yuga. That is the advantage that we have. So we should be very conscious, or we should be very much eager to be freed from this spell. Just like if you are diseased, your unnatural state, you are eager to get well soon. You want to take those measures, you want to follow the doctor's advice, you want to follow what the doctor has said, keep good habits so that you can come out of that sickness. In the same way, we have been informed that we are under the spell. Now we should be eager to become freed from this spell. And how do we become freed from this spell? All activities must be done for Krishna. That is what it is being said here. We are under the false impression that I am the doer, and we are trying to do everything to satisfy our senses, to satisfy our body, but we must work for the satisfaction of Krishna. Then this spell can be removed. It is not that we have to stop activities. We have to work. People sometimes think, that just like if you act, if even action in the mode of goodness is binding, it is karma. But action beyond the mode of goodness in the Shuddha Sattva is akarma. That is the reason why Prabhupada is saying even mode of goodness is a spell, because all actions in the mode of goodness is binding. You perform good actions in the mode of goodness, you get good reactions, and you will keep coming to this material world for suffering or for enjoying. And when you enjoy, there will be suffering also. You will be creating more and more reactions. So, we must not, so we think that, okay, if I act, even in the mode of goodness, I am going to create reactions. So let me stop actions. No, we cannot stop actions. We have to work. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yasya sarve samarambha. Samarambha means in all activities, in all our actions. What should be the consciousness? We must act. Krishna is saying we must act. But what should be the consciousness? With what consciousness we must act? Kama sankalpa varjitaha. Kama sankalpa varjitaha means varjitaha, without Kama sankalpa. Kama sankalpa means I must enjoy. This whole consciousness in this material world is I. I must enjoy, it's for my benefit. No. Krishna must enjoy. That should be the consciousness. If just this consciousness is changed, that instead of my enjoyment, it should be for Krishna's enjoyment, we can come out of the spell. Consciousness is always there. Whatever work we are doing, whatever actions we are performing, anything that we are engaged in, we are engaging it with our mind. Mind means consciousness. We cannot do anything without consciousness. Suppose sometimes we see sometimes consciousness is not in some work. What happens? The work doesn't happen properly. So consciousness is very important, right? Our consciousness should be there in the work. Now the question is, what should be our consciousness? Here it is said, what is the consciousness when we are in the spell? Our consciousness is, we think we are the proprietor of everything. And here in that verse, Prakrite Kriyamanani, Prabhupada is writing, what is the consciousness of a person who is under the spell of material nature? He writes, the consciousness is, four things Prabhupada writes. What is the consciousness of a person who is under the spell? The person in material consciousness is convinced by the false ego that he is the doer of everything. He doesn't know that this material nature is working under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and he is not just the doer. Then the second thing, the materialistic person, he has no knowledge that everything is under the control of Krishna. And thirdly, we, working under the influence of false ego, we take all credit for ourselves. We do not give credit to Krishna. Actually, the real credit should go to Krishna. Because, why credit should go to Krishna? Because whatever I am doing, whatever I am achieving by my body, mind and intelligence, all has been given to me by Krishna. Just like if somebody gives you some money and you buy a lot of nice things, a lot of gifts you get from that money, and then you go and give it back to the person thinking that you are giving him. It's a wrong consciousness, na? The money with which you bought all the gifts was given to you by that person. You have simply purchased those things and giving it back to the person. Not that you are giving all those things. So, a person in material consciousness thinks that, or he takes all the credit for himself. And the fourth symptom is that he does not know that the same thing what we discussed, that he is a creation of the material nature which is working under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and as such he should engage all his bodily and mental activities in the service of Krishna. So this is material consciousness, and what should be the consciousness that we should be working with? Krishna is the supreme proprietor. Krishna is Rishi Kesha. He is the master of all the senses. All my senses belong to him, so I must serve him with my body, mind and senses. When we are working with this consciousness, then we'll be happy. Here Prabhupada is giving one example of Arjuna. Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight. But he became freed from that proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. So when he fought, but he was actually freed from the reactions of fighting, although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, the entire responsibility was upon him. So this is the whole teaching of the scriptures. How to work with the consciousness of Krishna, surrendering everything to Krishna and knowing that Krishna is the enjoyer. Arjuna, this example that is being given, Arjuna denied to fight. What is the meaning of denying to fight? Actually, it appears very nice, na? That Arjuna is denying to fight. Very nice. He is giving up the claim of kingdom for satisfying his relatives. Materially, it appears to be a very nice position. Such a great person. The kingdom is his, Arjuna's. He's the rightful owner of the kingdom, but he's saying, no, let them take it. Let them have claim of the kingdom. I do not want it. Appears very nice, but it is wrong. Krishna disapproves it. Because Arjuna, in thinking like this, let them enjoy it, he's satisfying his senses. He's saying, let them be happy. That is where Arjuna is thinking he will be happy. So, satisfying your senses is not, is the spell. We think we must satisfy our senses. But when we want to satisfy Krishna, so Krishna disapproves this. No, you don't think that, by giving up your claim to kingdom, it is appearing externally very nice, that is the right position. No, you have to fight, you have to do your duty. And because Krishna is saying this to Arjuna, that you have to do your duty, it is my duty to satisfy Krishna's instruction, even if it is not satisfying my senses. This is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. We are all working towards satisfying myself. No, I must satisfy Krishna, even if that means displeasure for me. Pleasure of Krishna is first. So this is the consciousness that has to be changed, that I must satisfy Krishna. Prabhupada gives so many examples, the simple example. Now you may ask, why I have to satisfy Krishna? Why not me? Because we are part of Krishna. So if we are parts of Krishna, the part must satisfy the whole, the Krishna. Like a very simple example, Prabhupada keeps giving it many times. The hand. When is the hand happy? Only two conditions the hand will be happy. One, the hand must be connected to the body. If the hand is disconnected from the body, the hand cannot be happy. And two, the hand must serve the body. If the hand is connected to the body and the hand is serving the body, the hand will be happy. Now, our position, like the hand, we have to be connected to Krishna, because Krishna is the whole, the body is the whole, hand is the part. So part must be connected to the whole and the part must serve the whole. So similarly, we being part, mamaivamsho jiva loke, pitaham asya jagato. Krishna is saying, you're all my parts, you're all my children. So we must be connected to Krishna and we must be serving Krishna. Under the spell that we are in, the spell of three modes of material nature, we have forgotten this. Firstly, hand will never think of not serving the body. It is natural for the hand to serve the body. If the hand tries to pick up something and tries to enjoy by just touching, no. The hand has to pick up the sweet and serve the body. Feed the stomach. Then only the hand will be happy. If the hand tries to independently do something without serving the body, the hand will never be happy. This is the spell that we are under. We have declared independence. Who's God? I am independent. No, we can never be independent. As Krishna says, if you try to be independent of me, you will become dependent of the three modes of material nature. So we are always dependent. Better become dependent on Krishna. If you don't become dependent on Krishna, if you try to be independent of Krishna, you're automatically becoming dependent on Krishna's external energy. And that is the spell that we are under. Just like the same example. If a citizen is dependent, or rather to put it another way, if he tries to prove independence of the government laws, what is the state government? What is the central government? I'm independent of all that. I'm free. If you try to declare your independence of the government laws, you will be dependent on the police force, which is also by the state government. So we cannot be free, we cannot be independent. You have to be dependent. Because we are small, the small Anu has to be dependent on the big, large Vibhu, the Krishna. And when we become dependent like that, in that comes real independence. So independence doesn't mean that we just declare independence. I am independent. What are we independent of? We are dependent on our senses. We are blindly following our senses wherever they lead them. I am a servant of my senses. I am servant of so many things. So real independence comes when a citizen becomes obedient to the laws of the state. Then the state will keep him very nicely. The state government will give him all the facility. The state government will give him award for all his work. The state government will promote him. So many things. You get, you work nicely as an honest citizen of the country. You can do so many things. You can be all over the place. You'll get so many awards. You'll get so much recognition. How do you get awards and recognition? By being dependent on the government laws. In the same way, when we become dependent on Krishna, on Krishna's instruction, then we will be very happy. Unfortunately, the spell is so much that even when Prabhupada is writing in this purport, even sometimes to remove our spell, Krishna comes personally. 5,000 years back, Krishna appeared. But no, we are not interested in hearing Krishna. We are not interested to the proposals that Krishna is giving. We are not interested in his teachings. And that is why it is said that when Krishna sends his representative, and we accept a bona fide spiritual master, the representative of Krishna, and we surrender to him, and then when we get freed from this spell because of surrender to the bona fide spiritual master, that spiritual master is a very, very great personality because he is relieving us from the spell. So, in the same way, anyone who is distributing this knowledge of Gita to others, that's why Krishna is saying, he is the dearmost to me. Because that person who's distributing this knowledge is actually helping the conditioned soul to become freed from the spell of the three modes. So, Daiviyesha gunamai mama maya duratya maam evaya prapadyante maya metam tarantite. These three modes of material nature, this is very difficult to overcome, but if we surrender to Krishna, then we can overcome this spell. Prabhupada, I'll just end with this one. It's a nice quote where Prabhupada is writing how we are under the spell and how we can free ourselves from the spell. Krishna is very merciful to his sincere devotees. But we have to also remember that Maya is also very strong. Therefore, we have to be always engaged in serving Krishna. At every moment we should be doing this or that. At every moment we should be doing this or that. Service for Krishna's pleasure. If we do not remember this, what do we forget? What do we not remember? That every moment we have to be doing either this or that for Krishna's service. If we do not remember this, Maya is right there to grab us. It all depends on our learning, on our leaning towards Krishna or towards Maya. You lean towards Krishna or towards Maya. If you lean towards Krishna, you will be in Krishna consciousness. And if you lean towards Maya, then you will be captivated by material nature. Krishna and Maya are just like the light and shadow which are directly next to one another. This is a very nice example. If you're in a light, your body will be lit, but behind your body will be shadow. The darkness is behind your body, and right here there is light. So you see, light and darkness are just next to each other, just front and back. So Krishna and Maya are just like light and shadow which are directly next to one another. If you move a little this way, you are in light and there's no question of shadow. But if you move a little the other way, you are in darkness. So if we remember to always be engaged in Krishna's service, then there will be no Maya and everything will be all right. Please remember this great secret of advancement in Krishna consciousness. And he says that Maya is very strong There is chance of our falling down any moment, but if we are able to catch hold of Krishna's lotus feet by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, then Krishna gives us all protection from the onslaught attack of Maya. Remember this principle always. So we have got a very nice method, a very simple method, a very easy method, a very sublime method to become free from this Maya, to become free from the spell of the three modes and false ego. We have to be engaged in service always, either this or that, and be chanting the Hare Krishna mantra very nicely. And if we are on that platform, then we can be freed from the influence of Maya, the three modes of material nature. We'll end here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.